I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Kapadas?
Here.
Mrs. Passio? Here. Mr. Ranieri?
Here.
Mrs. Moore? Here. Mr. Root?
Here.
Mrs. Kelly? Here. Mr. Farrell?
Here.
Mr. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Bayshore?
Here.
And Mr. Ray?
Here.
Statement. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. One, posted on the bulletin board in our clerk's office on January 6, 2015. It's today. And two, emailed to the retrospect and Turner Post on January 6, 2015. Reports?
I have the report of the construction official for the month of November. A total amount collected, $7,616. And for the month of December, a total of $8,631 was collected for various licenses, for various permits and COs. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. We have the report of the police department for the month of December. The total of $182.55 was collected for various accident discovery, solicitor reports, and fire permits. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. We have the report of the fire marshal for the month of December. A total of fire fees collected was $2,367. There were 57 inspections completed, 137 total incidents, and 1 Type 1 permit issued. And total EMS fees collected for the month of December, $26,028.75. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. We have the report of the borough clerk for the month of December. A total of $19,120 was collected for street openings and licenses. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. We have the report of the municipal court for the month of November. A total of $8,096.15 was collected in court fines. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. And we have the report of the registrar of vital statistics for the month of December. A total of $3,304 was collected for death copies and marriage licenses. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. That's all I have.
Okay. Do I have a motion to receive the clerk's
So
report?
moved. I'll second that motion.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Passio. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing. I guess this is on municipal appendix, the Camden County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. This portion of the meeting is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this? Is this a second time?
This is not an ordinance. This is the hazard mitigation plan that Runnemede had to file, and we were required by I guess the county, or maybe statewide, to hold a public hearing. We posted this on our website back in December, and we were required to do this before December the 9th. And this is the plan. It was on our website. I didn't feel as I was going to print out all these pages for everyone, but it was available on our website. And this is for if anyone has any public comment. I don't know if any written comment was received. I didn't receive anything. I think it would have went to either the county or the child.
Okay. But this portion is still open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on the Camden County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan? Seeing no one, I'd make a motion. Oh, I can't make a motion. Would someone make a motion to close?
I will make a motion, but before I do that, Mr. Mayor, in order for FEMA to provide any reimbursement for claims we might make, if this hazard mitigation plan isn't in order and isn't filed and isn't part of what we do here in this town, we cannot get any money from FEMA. That's how important this is.
Okay.
So I do make a motion.
Okay, make a motion to
I'll
close the public portion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor? All right, public portion is closed. Now do we have a motion?
I don't know that there's a reason to do anything. It's just for public comment.
Okay, so there's no public comments. We've done our part. Okay, committee reports. Finance, Mr. Ranieri.
It's looking good.
Progress. It's always good at first meeting.
Looking good. Well, I'm under the impression that Mr. Wright has some things for you, and hopefully your committee will get together.
No,
Great. Thank you. Public safety, Mrs. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wear a lot of hats in town. I guess you all know that. As Public Safety Director, I'm responsible for the police department, for the fire department, for the Office of Emergency Management, for the DARE program, for the Municipal Alliance. I'm also fund commissioner, and I'm liaison to the Board of Education. So I go to a lot of meetings every month, but I did have a very important meeting this month with my Public Safety Committee. And it was in regards to the towing. And as you know, every year we put out a RFP for towing. And this year we had 4 very good applications. They were just great. However, the committee felt that because we have had Bernie's towing in the past, and it's been very successful, we didn't see any reason to change. But we do appreciate the fact that other towing companies made their application, and they were all excellent. So I just wanted to confirm that the Public Safety Committee did meet, reviewed them all, and made their decision based on that. Okay, police report. Do you mind, Mr. Mayor, if I take up a little time here?
No. Okay. I'm sure Paul appreciates it.
Okay.
The chief.
You gotta give credit where credit's due, right? Okay. We had 7,218 year-to-date calls for service. That's an incredible amount of service calls. 7,218, and responded to all. This month, in December, we had 29 motor vehicle crashes. We had 130 arrests, so our guys were really busy out there. Arrests to date, 1,483. And we did that with only 35 hours of overtime. And we are working with a minimum amount of police officers. So a lot of men have stepped up to the plate on this. It's been excellent. Thank you, Chief, for the work that your men do for our town. Fire department. Year to date, the fees collected for EMS and medical services year to date, $607,381. Year to date, collected $267,381. Year to date, collected. Total fire and EMS fees collected were $3,024, $154.87, $324,154.87. So it's a really remarkable achievement by our emergency technicians. Then we had the OEM meeting this month, and I was surprised to hear that we were going to have recycling, and I didn't know that, and Chief Daly informed me of that at the OEM meeting, so I was a little bit put off by that because I hadn't heard that we were having recycling every week. So I kind of... Oh, so I told Chief Laverty and Chief Daly, I said, oh no, that can't be because we don't have any knowledge of it. And certainly before we would do anything like that, council would have knowledge. So I was a little caught off guard last week.
It was a quick decision. It was a fast decision. It was discussed, and it's a temporary situation right now to see how things go.
I think we'll still talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
So I just felt a little awkward because I told you, remember, Chief? I said to you, forget about it. It's just people blogging. And, you know, most blogs, people that go on blogs are nabobs of negativity. And so whenever I hear anybody talking about anything on a blog, I really write it off. So,
Well, it wasn't on
sorry
the blog,
about
it was on Facebook.
It was on the Facebook page, and it went on to a lot of other Facebook pages.
Oh.
It was discussed between the administrator and the mayor and myself, so it was brought up the other night, so it was a quick discussion.
I apologize, Chief, for calling you down on that. Okay. The OEM portable radios went into service today. This is an important part of communication for our emergency workers and first responders. And it was an important part of the program, And I thank you, Mr. Rahman, for getting that going for us. That was excellent. And I'm working on getting keys for you and Bob. I'm still working on that. And the Board of
I
Education.
might have them.
Oh,
I'm not sure yet.
Our president of council might
I
have
have
these.
some keys that I have to go down to Harry.
We can discuss that in committee,
As
possibly.
president of council, I congratulate you on your first business order. Okay, Board of Education. This Thursday, they're having their reorg at 7 o'clock. So if anybody can attend, it would be appreciated. To congratulate them for their years of service. It's all volunteer, and the new people are coming on board on Thursday night. So it's always important to recognize their volunteerism on that board. The work they do is incredible. I just have to congratulate all of them. It's all volunteer, and they put in many, many hours. And with that, I think that's all I have to say this tonight.
Thank you very much. Public events, Ms. Spencer.
Okay, Mayor, Council. I just want to wish everyone a happy and healthy new year, and may you all be blessed with an abundance of prosperity. But on another note, I will be working on all of our public events and for all the activities for this year. So committee, be prepared. I also want to make note that Camden County Freeholders will be holding their monthly meeting in our town on Thursday, January 22nd at the Harry Williams Community Senior Center. The general meeting will start at 7 p.m. 2015 pet licenses are now available in the Borough Clerk's office, and we will also be sponsoring a rabies clinic on Saturday, March 14th from 10 to noon at the Harry Williams building. And all of this information can be found on our Borough website. Please remember, I'm always at the rabies clinic, and sometimes I'll go outside and I'll see people standing there with their animals, and I remember them from the year before. And then I have to tell them that the rabies vaccine is good for 3 years. So please remember that when your animal receives its rabies shot, it is good for 3 years. And the seniors will be having their reorganization swearing in at their meeting on January 17th at 1 p.m. They asked me to tell everyone that they do have a meeting every third Saturday of the month for the seniors. They are always looking for new members. And this year, their president will be Emma Kwasak. So, let me see if there's anything else. I did receive a call from Samantha Spalding, president of the BOE, and she told me that on January 19th, which is Martin Luther King Day, the kids, instead of taking the day off, they want to do something for the community. So they're going to have a really nice cleanup. So we'll get together with the Clean Communities Coordinator, and we'll plan on doing something nice for that day for the kids. And that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Engineering, Mr. Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to report. We're still working on getting South Oakland paved this year. Irish Hill paved. We've been looking into Harry Williams building, fixing the lights, the heater, the floor, the roof. Yes, we want to see if we can coat that. I think Mark will be getting some prices on all that. So all the rest progress.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Public Works, this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, clearly the first thing on my agenda was the recycling. I do believe it is on the Borough website, is it not? Okay, the discussion will be that I will make the announcement that recycling will be picked up this week as it was scheduled on your regular scheduled day. West side of town will be Wednesday, east side of town will be Thursday. It will be picked up every week from that point forward until the end of March. We are going to give this a shot and see how things turn out. We're going to monitor the volume of see what we have. I don't quite know, we discussed this the other day, I discussed it with the mayor. I don't quite know how to word it in regard to, we're looking to see how much volume it will bring in overall, but I think over the course of doing it for these 3 months, we'll start to see a reduction in what's put out curbside each week. So hopefully we can get it down to doing the town in 1 day, and that's the ultimate goal. So what we're going to be doing for these next couple of months is just kind of monitoring it, seeing where it goes, So, as I said, it will be picked up regular scheduled this week, it will be picked up the following week. Please tell your neighbors, spread the word, put it on your Facebook pages. It will be posted on the Borough website. It has kind of been an impromptu situation, but I think it's moving in the right direction. That's what we've wanted to do. It's always been the ultimate goal to have it done. So we are going with the prospect of a new truck in the works. That will help definitely to make it easier. So,
Okay, but it also is on the Runnemede Library website, Facebook page. and
Correct.
That's incorrect, if you read it.
I have not read it.
Okay.
I have not read it. I didn't put it on the
Tell her
Facebook.
it's back there.
Yeah, she's saying, I don't really understand.
It just had the
It says
days
that
back.
the west side is going to be picked up on a Thursday.
And just to piggyback that, even though you're not done your report, just to make sure, obviously, at the time, I was still on the Public Works Committee. The committee didn't get together, Mr. Root, what should have really happened, the committee should have gotten together a little bit better. But I think at the time, Ms. Moore was concerned about the holiday season. We had just picked up after Christmas.
Right, and it also came up from my superintendent, who suggested that we try to move forward with it now. After the holiday season, let's get it right in play and picked it up. So it was really his idea more than it was mine to initiate it as quickly as possible to try to get it started. So
And I think the idea was the holiday.
let's get it going.
But I think the committee, as long as the council, I think, feels okay about this. I mean, the only concern that I personally have is that the goal must be to try to get to 1 day a week.
Correct.
And the reason, the logic here is, right now, we pick up trash every other week. So, it's 26 times, 2 days, 2 times a week. So it's 52 times we pick up recycling. If we go to 1 day a week, it'll still be 52 pickups. With this move we're making right now, it's 104 pickups. So that's 50.
But only for a brief period of time.
Yes, if we don't make it work. The point that I'm concerned about is, we don't want too many days doing recycling. That'll be days that we can't cut grass, pick up leaves, paint curbs, and do all the things that Public Works does for the town. So even though I think that the process was pushed a little bit only because of the holidays and trying to move forward, I think in the future, the idea is that the committee kind of iron it out a little bit better. And because I agree, this trash truck coming online, I think might make a big difference and make it work.
Is there anybody that feels that this is not a worthwhile thing?
I think when you look at the tonnage, and you have to justify the fact that you're using this truck all this time, for these 3 months, and then you'll have to really justify the fact that we'll be doing it every week, with the idea that the tonnage will probably be remaining the same. Is that correct?
I think it will go up. I think that's collectively
think
well,
you'll
yes,
have
because I
better-
think that honestly, the situation
People have
out
to
there,
put it in their trash.
people get
in
to
their
the point
garbage.
if they have, I mean, I can only say this in the time that I've been on, if they've got 2 recycle cans, when those 2 cans get full, they're like, I'm done, and then it just goes into the trash. So I think if we're picking it up on a more regular basis, I think that people will be more apt to say, oh, okay, well then I can continue to recycle. Even if I'm continuing to put out 2 cans, I think that it's something that is, well, this is something we've talked about for years, and it's never, and the residents have complained that they want it to happen. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely a step in the right direction for this.
But the new truck that we're talking about this evening that's on for us to go out for bid, the idea would be that the truck would be larger than the one we have currently. So the new truck would be,
It could do the whole town.
yeah, it's 50% larger.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So 50% larger vehicle should allow the Public Works Department to pick everything up in one day.
There are a lot of people in town that do not recycle. There are a lot of people that do not recycle. It is the law in the state of New Jersey, it is law in the Borough of Runnemede that you need to recycle. So I'm hoping that by getting this going, it might be a step in the right direction.
How are you notifying the residents?
Well, Joyce had suggested the sewer bills are gonna be going out. We can put something in the sewer bills to help
That's
get it
good.
going. I mean, right now, it's kind of, I think it will go, it will spread a little bit quicker than anticipated. I think it will be something, I don't think it's gonna be something like, oh, who cares? I think that this will go pretty fast.
Well, we need
If I
to,
can dovetail into that, just, we're going to put it, we're gonna reach out to Channel 19, we're gonna put it on Channel 19,
Awesome.
we're gonna put it on the library
It'll be
board,
on the
it'll
library.
just say weekly recycling, west side, east side.
Awesome.
We're gonna put it on the point sign, we have someone that volunteered to, put the wraps for the, for the sign that goes there. So that was part of why we wanted to make sure we had this stuff in place. We're also going to ramp up, we're gonna ramp up code enforcement.
Good.
So, but if we're gonna ramp up code enforcement, then we need to be able to meet the needs of the residents. So
Correct.
if they can't get it out there, then how can you hold me accountable? And where we see the savings is that if we see 10% go from the trash into recycling, we only get a few pennies on the recycling side, so it's not a budget breaker, but we have that much less at $65 a ton on the trash side. So that could yield money in the future to buy more equipment. So I mean, it could be a win. So there's definitely
When
going to
we
be
notify the
a bind.
residents, that's it. When we notify the residents, it's also, I urge that we try to make it clear that not to put trash out 4 days in advance, that it needs to go out right before, the evening before, or that morning. It can't sit curbside throughout the whole weekend waiting for pickup for the following week, because that's something, because then we become a town that has trash out curbside every single day.
And we do have a borough ordinance that
Yes.
says you're only allowed to put the trash out the night
Correct.
before, and the cans have to be
That's
removed.
part of the reason, I think collectively, we've all said that we wanted to move in the direction of getting it done once a week and having it done one day for the whole town, because we have become a town that has trash out Monday for yard waste, Tuesday for trash, Wednesday for recycling, Thursday for recycling. It's just become a town that has trash cans out curbside most of the week. So let's try to streamline it.
Yes.
So we will, listen, go ahead, Bob.
You mentioned before, if people don't have enough cans, they can go down to Public
Absolutely,
Works.
we have an ample supply down there, and
Can
we
you
will
put that
do
on
more
the-
than,
on the
absolutely,
letter?
we'll put that on there too. Most residents hopefully know at this point, if you need a can, reach out to Public Works, send a note to admin, we will make sure that you get a can, absolutely. Okay, so, today we had a little blip of snow, that was getting around schools were the first priority, getting everything salted, the borough was salted, the schools were salted. I kind of kept an eye on it as best I could throughout the course of the day, so I think we had, I don't think, to my knowledge, did you get any issues? Did you have any issues? I did not have any issues, and I kind of was on and off most of the day with them.
And I mean, obviously, there wasn't enough snow to plow. And
Right.
obviously, if you plow in that condition, you create slippery roads in itself. So I mean,
Correct.
But once the salt got to work and started doing its job, everything worked out
And I
fine
believe that I was told that we will be getting the brine machine
within a week.
within a week.
Yes. So
So
that'll be
that's
another
awesome, so
cool.
we'll be able to prep ahead of time for getting the areas prepared around the schools and on major roads.
I thought we had a brine machine.
No, we do not.
We ordered it, it hasn't come in.
It'll be in next week. That's what we're doing.
And that basically helps us out for the start. You know, when you have those ice cold roads, the days where we had
Yes.
the problems last year where you get that black ice in the first period, once everything's wet, you know, it basically loses its effect. So it gives you a head start until you get the salt. So we're looking forward to that.
Yep, and Christmas tree pickup's gonna be happening. I mean, the snow kind of went off kilter. I think they were kind of geared yesterday to go out for tree pickup today. So if you have a tree out, please just leave it out. They won't be picking it up. The only one thing I do want to point out, which I don't know if all of council is aware of it, I know the mayor is aware of it, the point down at Jerry's Jewelers, Bob is aware of it also. The point down at Jerry's Jewelers was something that we were reaching out to try to get it redone. It had a sign there welcoming you into the town. We had reached out to the county to try to improve the area since it was the entrance to the county as well as to the town. After, it's been going on almost a year. Back and forth, the county came up with a plan, and the state came in because a portion of that land is owned by the state, and the state said that we could not do what we had planned. So we all received letters that said that it's not happening. Well, I'm happy to report that it is going to happen. They will be breaking ground on it in spring. The project is going out to bid. I met with the NJDOT as well as with the county right before the holiday. Bob was with me, and we went down and we talked to them, and the right-of-way was the big issue there, so it's all about the language. The NJDOT said we can put a small landscaping wall, and that is definitely the word, landscaping wall, on that side of the property, and the sign can be offset, and the plantings and all of the decorative plantings that go along with it, and all of the pretty of the area will be on the state side. So they will allow us to do that. They also have said that they will, because that portion of the property falls on the state side, they will look into replacing the sidewalk free of cost to us, and it won't cost us anything, and just kind of improving that area overall. So I am very excited about this. This was something that was completely dead in the water, and it is not now. So this has been a long process, and I'm very happy to say thank the freeholders for backing me on this and taking care of it. But other than that, progress.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me ramble on.
Thank you very much.
Good news, good news.
Okay, Parks and Recreation, Mr. Root.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have going on right now is a little bit of bad news on the pole barn. I was expecting work to start this week, but I got a phone call, a return phone call back today that they're probably about a week and a half behind on the production. So I'll be staying on top of them, trying to get it as soon as possible so we can get it going. Other than that, everything's progress and just waiting for spring.
Okay. Thank you. Administrators report. Mr. Wright.
Which I will, I guess, dovetail into the recreation report for a second. I did have a meeting last week with Mr. Root, and we went over I guess from an outline point of view, the needs for 2015 for budget for what we're going to be doing this year. And basically, we're developing a process to make sure we can track that and keep everything on schedule. We're looking forward to doing that with all the directors / department heads going into 15. We're going to put a little more emphasis on the planning side of it so that we're not playing catch up all the time. It looks like we're going to be going into 15 the way we should be. I mean, we've had a lot of change over the past few years, a lot of catch up. We were catching up the past, trying to do the current, planning for the future, so many hours and so many days across all the departments. So that's looking pretty good. On the OEM side, just so everybody understands what we kind of did today, I called Mr. Rahman yesterday, and actually I think I saw him at Borough, but then we followed up yesterday, and we put the portables that we have in the chargers. Just so everybody knows, we have a group of portable radios that are more advanced. We have a group of portable radios that are older, and we have, I guess, about 6 or 7 mobile radios. The mobile radios will be installed directly into the Public Works trucks. So this way, there's no issue. You don't have to worry about batteries. You don't have to worry about where it is. So the superintendent will have communications with the vehicles during emergency operations, during normal operations. The radio's off, and I will shout out Chief Daly here. Chief Daly took all the radios to the county after we said move forward with this plan. They programmed 2 channels. We have one channel, channel 1 on the repeater, and I think he touched on this. So basically, that will go pretty far off the repeater. We have a local channel that's basically line of sight or from here to there that's not on the repeater. So that we have 2 channels available. None of the other channels work on the radio. So if you put on channel 4, it'll just beep. So it has to stay on those 2 channels. You don't want to be in an emergency situation and figuring out what to do with the radios. And not that we would do that, but since we knew the storm was coming, even though it was a small storm, we said, let's get them charged, let's see if we can get them out. So we put 6 radios out today, and they're all labeled, so that they each have a charger cord, a mic, a battery, and the radio itself. So they're all labeled. I think there's 4 at Public Works, or 5 at Public Works right now, and Charlie and myself have 1. And just basically, they were in Belmar, and asked them to check in, and it worked at Belmar. So we were able to talk to one of the vehicles. One of them had a bad battery, so after it was fully charged, it was dead within 10 minutes. So we got rid of that battery and gave another battery. So very small operation, but big if you need it. So that's where we are now. So it's just a little test, and going forward, I'll let OEM give you further updates on that. But I just want to point out that we did that today. Also had our first meeting of 2015 with the departments this afternoon. It was supposed to be yesterday, but we had some personnel that weren't able to attend, so we moved it to today. Jury duty, things of that nature. And basically, we set the tone for 2015. There's a lot of things that we're looking forward to, and we have, I think, one of our first new employees, at least in my department, in the 90-day evaluation period. One of the things we had to do with regards to civil service rules was to come up with an evaluation form. So that opened up bigger discussions on, well, where does that go for the rest of the departments, for myself, department heads, for the employees. If you have a problem employee under civil service rules, if you have a folder that has nothing in it, when you go and you sit before the administrative law judge and he says, well, okay, this looks like a first occurrence, and he returns to dismissal because there's nothing in the files. So basically, we just globally talked about process, chain of command, accountability, and everything starts from council. Basically, the council sets the policies, sets the tone, sets the expectations. That comes to myself and the department heads, and the departments are a reflection of the supervision. So then the department head expects the employees. That doesn't really exist now. We're not looking for this very complicated
So
process.
what you're saying, if I can interrupt this, there's no process of review for an employee?
We don't have a formal process for review.
Is this what we're trying to establish?
We're hitting the ground running.
I think it's been talked
Yeah.
about for several years.
Yeah.
And each department, I think the police department is one of the few departments, and probably the fire department does it a little bit better. Finance, it needs to catch up a little bit also. and-
It's not finance, but globally.
Well,
I can tell
globally.
you that there's nothing in any employee files with regards to evaluation.
Yeah.
Every now and then there might be a ding where somebody gets in trouble or something happens. But I'm focusing more not on the nuts and bolts side, but on the upper level side. And that's why I'm bringing up a few, because it relates back to the budget, it relates back to how we operate. That basically, if you have expectations of what's gonna happen as council, then you're gonna put taxpayers' money in to make that happen. And then we have to evaluate throughout the year and at the end of the year whether it happened or not. And so basically, that has to happen because it's been tough. I mean, we get by with the minutes. We meet the budget standards that comply with the statutes, but we could do a better job. And we have a new finance director coming on board. I'm looking forward to sitting down. You know, I printed out some stuff from the League of Municipalities website for newly elected officials, and I said, you know what? We can do this. You know, you don't have to have a 100-page planning document. You can have a one-page per department that has 3 goals and how you're going to achieve it and what the costs are to make that happen. And then you start out smaller and build into it. Don't try and make something that people don't get. So there's going to be a lot of work in this area. And going into 15, the first benchmark in my department that we put out there is we're going to introduce the budget on time. So that takes
Hasn't
focus.
happened.
I love that vote of confidence. And it's not a goal, it's going to happen. But the problem is that if we know what it's going to take to make that happen, if we reprioritize all the staff to do other stuff, it's not going to happen. So it all comes down to expectations, what it takes to make those expectations happen. And I can pull back to finance because that's me personally, but you can apply that to the police department, to public works, to the Parks and Rec, there's less staff over there. But if he needs something to happen, then it needs to be coordinated with public works, with finance, with the police department, depending on what's going on, if there's security needed, the fire department for code enforcement. So they're all interconnected on a regular basis. So I think that this started out with 2 things. One is we needed the new hire evaluation process. They said, well, why would we just evaluate somebody that walked in the door? Why would we have a process that keeps it going? We've had some issues with employees over the past year, and we didn't have something firmly in place there, although we did what needed to be done. And we have new people coming on board, so we want to set the tone from the top down. So and I think that we would like 10 minutes just to briefly go over that and close. But
At the end of the meeting, we'll just have
All
a
right.
20-minute
10 minutes, 20
personnel
minutes.
thing. I think Mr.
right.
Wood would like to comment also, so we'll do that.
So that's, other than that, progress.
Okay, thank you. Solicitors report.
We have an arbitration coming up next week. I'll talk to you in particulars of that in caucus. Former employees, and other than that, progress.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
Can I ask him, is this the time that I should, I have a question. What is the process if we have a property in town? I've spoken to code enforcement about it. It's a vacant property. It's been vacant at least, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 5 years at least. My understanding is it's being maintained in some capacity by some type of property maintenance, but not to a point that it's keeping the home intact. The roof has completely, pretty much disappeared on the back of the house. The property maintenance company is notified by Keith Knight. He will notify them, they will come out, they will replace tarps. Now the entire front of the roof is pretty much in the same condition. The house has, there's not a doubt in my mind, taken on water with rain, snow from last season, there's no doubt in my mind. I can't even fathom what the condition of the inside of the house would be at this point. I've reached out to Chris at one point, to Chris Mecca, and I spoke to him and I said that.
Construction.
Right, I spoke to him and I asked what the process was to possibly go after the property to condemn it, because it's become a problem. It's, at this point, it's almost like it's blight. It's just, it's really an issue. I can't see anyone coming in to rehab it in the condition that it's starting to become. So his feeling was that it would have to be like an imminent danger situation. So I, again, reached out to Keith Knight. Keith has in turn spoken to Chris. I have not been able to get Chris. I did send him a note, and Keith also forwarded him a note that I wrote regarding this property. Just what is the borough's position on trying to force, I don't want to say demolition of the property, but I mean, it's unfair to the residents that are surrounded by this property at this point, and I don't know what to do. I don't really think that honestly Keith Knight at this point knows as far as like, you
Well,
know,
I'll certainly, will reach out to me and he and I can chat, but
okay,
as I recollect our current state of things, it's possible that we could declare it to be an unsafe structure, and then we have some remedies that we can use. What we don't have yet, and it's just interesting that you bring it up because I actually started working on drafting the ordinance. Late last year, or maybe the middle of last year, the state passed a statute that gave municipalities a little more teeth with these problems with homes where people walk away because they're underwater and they're not paying their mortgage. And under the old rules, or the existing rules in here in Runnemede, we can go after the owner.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's nice, but that doesn't do you any good.
No.
But I will draft an ordinance that will enable us to go after the lien holder.
Okay,
It has teeth. You can fine them $1,500 a day if they're an in-state lender. You can fine them $2,500 a day if they're an out-of-state. It gets their attention. It forces them to do things.
okay.
I'm going to guess that it was a foreclosure, but has not been perfected. That is, the bank hasn't taken title. That's what they've done. To avoid that responsibility, they start the foreclosure proceedings. They might even get a foreclosure judgment, but they don't go to sale. Until they go to sale, they're not the owner.
Right, okay.
Okay? So the legislature reacted to that after however, because 2008 is when this all started
Absolutely.
to be a big problem for everybody. You know, when values went down and people were leveraged to their teeth and everybody was getting upside down in their mortgages, and then they lost their jobs and they couldn't pay their mortgages. And finally they said, you know, the heck with this. Why should I pay my mortgage? There's no equity in my house. And they hung in there, and then a year went by, or a year and a half went by, and then the bank finally decided, the lender, I should say, finally decided to do something. But meanwhile, if you're not paying your mortgage because you don't have enough money, you know, so buy eggs or cut the grass. You know, I mean, so there's really no contest. We know what's going to happen. And so our remedies were limited, but I will try to have a draft of that ordinance for
Because
the
I
next
know other
month.
towns have done
What
it.
about,
They just started last year.
what about when there's no lender involved? And the homes are just abandoned, and there's no
I
lender?
think
Somebody owns it.
someone owns them.
Someone,
owns
yes,
them.
We know
going
that.
after, but going after the owners doesn't seem to be
Well,
doing
we
it.
have another property in town that I know that Mr. Knight has repeatedly gone after them. And their feeling, even as the lien holder on the property, is just like, whatever, like, they don't really care. Like, they're really not gonna go above and beyond. They said, if there's a problem with a fence on that property that's falling down, they're like, so just take it down. Like, we don't really care. Like, they're not gonna cooperate. And this property, like I said, you know which property I'm talking
Yeah.
about, and it is a problem. I mean, and the longer it sits, the more of a problem it's going to become.
Well, the only real, what we've done in the past is when a property has become unsafe, the construction code official has the right to go out,
Right.
condemns it, and we've literally had places torn down. I think in my memory, it's only really been a garage,
Yeah. A garage first and then house.
the garage and then the house.
Well, there was a house
We
when I
go
was
through
growing
the
up.
process and give them notice, and if they want to.
But it starts with the construction official, if he can do that, but this other ordinance, I guess, will give us teeth, if it's not like, if
Right.
Right.
our construction official's not able to
That's
say,
it. And I think that's what's holding up with this property. I don't think it's at the point that it's like, it's
That
not
he could
like
say it's gonna-
tipping, that it's like gonna fall over and it's gonna be a problem, but it is definitely becoming an issue. And it's, I mean, we're not alone in this, there's lots of towns. that
well,
have
and that's why they're all,
How many towns have
The
they?
road department went in.
The road department has not gone in because as it sits right now, the property does have someone that will go out. They have been notified repeatedly. I know that even in my term on council, that Keith has notified this property lien holder that.
there's a
That-
sign on the
that there's a
property
problem.
that says it's maintained, if there's any
Right.
questions, call
The taxes
them.
must be paid.
Taxes are paid,
That's it, but the house is becoming, it's
The roof.
becoming worse. I mean, like the roof, when I say there's holes this big, there are holes this big.
Are residents complaining?
Residents have complained, they are the ones that bring it forward to keep more than anyone else, that the tarp is blowing off the roof because the holes are there and the tarp is blowing off and it's blowing into your yard, and it's becoming a problem like that, so.
okay?
That's all right. Thank you, I appreciate it, Len.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything else? That's it? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ward. Engineers report, Mr. Bayshore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I submitted my report prior to last week's end of the year council meeting. That night we had 5 resolutions and 1 ordinance regarding our engineering project, so that leaves nothing for us to do tonight, which is good. The ordinance that was passed adopted a new zoning map, and I gave Joyce 6 new copies so that she can post them in Borough Hall. I also sent her a PDF copy as well as sending a PDF to the planning board engineer. And the only other thing to talk about is on Saturday, the 17th, we're going to have our final hookup with the new generator here, so the borough's going to lose power for a couple hours Saturday morning. I already notified Chief Daly. There is a rain date of the following Saturday in case they can't disconnect the power because of the rain. And
But
that's
it's
all.
only here this building.
It's only this building. That's all I have to report on tonight.
Thank you very much.
If I could just dovetail this
Sure.
for a second. We should probably coordinate with either the fire department or someone so that we could have the generator available to have the servers running, because while finance won't need them, I know they relate to police operations, or at least we should talk offline.
Won't the servers have a battery backup? Because they're,
No, when they do the cutover, Borough Hall will lose power for 2 hours while they put the generators.
okay.
So, as far as the police use all the communications and things of that nature go through servers for the police, so they might want to.
Well, we have we have 2 portable generators in the town, so sewer department.
So just so everyone's aware, that's something.
Okay. Sounds good. Old business, we have none. New business? We have a few
Resolution 1520?
Yep.
Is a resolution authorizing a contract for towing to be awarded to Bernie's Auto Repair for 2015.
We have a motion?
I so move.
I second that.
We have a motion by Ms. Kelly, second by Mr. Rainieri. Mr. Rainieri is first. Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Bauer.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
6 ayes.
Motion is, the resolution is adopted. This is just a request authorization for the clerk to advertise for bids for the purchase of a trash truck.
Yay.
Yay!
So this is just a motion. All in favor to put the bid out for the trash truck?
Aye.
Aye. Who made the motion?
Oh, well, we didn't have a motion. This is like
I
a
make
roll
a
call.
motion. I make a motion.
Okay, Beverly makes a motion,
I'll second it.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You didn't have a resolution 1521, resolution authorizing an interlocal service agreement by and between the Borough of Runnemede and Salem County Improvement Authority. This is for the street sweepers.
Street sweepers.
We get charged locally $39 or $35 a ton. Is that which one? One of those 2 numbers. And we take it to Salem for $9 a ton. This is for street sweepings, because that
Street
is,
sweepings have to be disposed of in a certain way because there's oil and there's debris and things like that, so
it is a big deal.
it's a huge difference.
The folks at the county said that they really don't want them.
Correct.
It's because it's not part of their process in Salem, it's part of the process. That's why they charge higher. So.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion by Ms. Moore, seconded by Ms. Passio. Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Bauer.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
6 ayes.
Okay, resolution is adopted. We're going to walk something on, I believe. Police vehicles. Mr. Wright, would you like to elaborate on that for us? Okay.
We are requesting approval to go out for 2 state contract police vehicles. I think, the clerk has the backup paperwork, correct?
It's not to go out for it, it's to purchase from.
To purchase. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, to purchase.
Yeah, this is,
I'm still excited about the trash trucks.
yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Whatever price we're getting for these police vehicles, is it including everything?
Can I elaborate on that?
Surely.
Okay, what we did, and the reason that it's not completely on here, but the chief understands and has worked very hard to get this on tonight. We have 2 police vehicles, Interceptors, 2015 Fords. Price was $33,000 and change, correct? $35,000 and change?
One without.
Come on up, you can give it. It is, it does have the bells and whistles, Steve.
There was one vehicle that will not require a radio, since we are removing a radio from a vehicle that was totaled. Both of the vehicles will not come with the e-ticket in it. We are currently looking to get a new vendor for our e-ticket and buy them separately. The vehicles will not come lettered. We are going to do that ourselves, to another outside vendor.
Okay.
The vehicles will come completely equipped with lights, sirens, cages, everything painted. So the only things we're not getting are the two e-tickets. We would have to equip them with 2 brand new computers, and we would have to equip them also with the first aid equipment.
Okay,
And
now, because in
standard.
the past, you know, it's been like, oh, we have to have cages, oh, we have to have.
The only
so that's why
time we
I
ever
make
had
sure.
that problem is when we purchased the Tahoes, and that was the previous administration that did that wrong. With the 2 Chargers, we did it right.
And if I may
We
correct
did it
you,
right with the
They
2
were not done
Chargers.
wrong, they were supposed to be
did it right.
unmarked vehicles.
So with the 2 Chargers, we did it right, and this time we did it right. I
Just
believe.
saying, just asking.
Yes, I said I believe the one vehicle's possibly $38,000 in change.
$38,919 for one and $33,977.
Yes, and you can see that big price difference. Now, these vehicles will not come equipped with police video equipment. We did not purchase it, we do not have a policy yet.
Right.
That's something that we are exploring, but we need to explore that soon.
Well, it's not, the state hasn't done it yet, have they?
No, they have not.
Okay. No,
But
I'm
we
not-
need it.
It's nice to be ahead of the curve.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
very good.
Thank
So,
you all.
and what we have is Resolution 15-22 will be a resolution to purchase 2 police vehicles, interceptors from Winter Ford. Is it the same vendor or is it a different vendor?
Winter Ford.
Winter Ford for all? State contract.
Under state contract.
Paul only knows to go to.
0295.
My car only drives it.
Okay, and everything else that goes involved. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
Just for the record, since it's being read by title, vehicle number 1 is $33,977. That's the one without the radio. Vehicle number 2 is $38,919. So it wasn't $13,000 for the radio, the package
The
different.
package.
9-1, is that 38.9?
919. And that's within the bond.
And it is within the bond. Okay, so you have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
That's 6 ayes.
Okay, the resolution is adopted. Discussion of the following items, weekly recycling, we've already discussed that. The pothole agreement has not been completely clarified with our neighbors in Gloucester Township. January 9th,
We are complying with our POSHA requirements, and the last item that we have to do is to have fire extinguisher and one other type of training. I forget what the other type of training was. The only day available was the 9th. So unfortunately, we have to send the guys to training on that day, and they need a person to go with them. So we will have to reschedule for another day.
okay. So we can still move forward with Gloucester Township with the pothole machine, but I did, once the pothole machine was out for one day, superintendent, he thought that it works well, but then also using the hot patch and tamping is also another method. So if we do need, we can use both resources. So depending on their schedule, we could go get, and depending on the weather, if it's not
Well, I
too
think
cold.
The pothole machine definitely works better this time of year, more so than
If there's no hot patch.
correct, because hot patch is just pointless. When we go to pick it up, by the time we get it where we need it to be, it's starting to cool down.
Well, the superintendent said that we could borrow Gloucester Township's hot machine.
Hot machine.
So they have a machine that keeps it warm until you bring it. So the point though is that hopefully in the next 2 weeks, if anybody has a list, I know Mr. Farrell was looking at, Ms. Spazio, Ms. Moore, everyone was looking at potholes, if we can make an aggregate list that puts everything together and can get it and then
Send
make
them
it,
all to admin.
and then send it there.
I would like them hand delivered. I have one list.
Yes. So pothole, we're still working with that. We're seeing what we can do with Gloucester Township. Shared service with Barrington for payroll and deputy registrar services. This is something we've now done for 2 years. You want to talk about the payroll clerk first?
I just wanted to put it out there that I'm recommending renewing the agreement.
Is there any changes?
No change.
And same thing with the registrars?
And funny that you told me to put this on today. I received an email today from Terry Shannon saying, who is your new mayor? I'm drawing up the agreements for this year.
Okay, great.
So I guess at their next meeting, they will discuss whether or not they're going to re-opt for this, which I don't anticipate any.
We'll just hire our employees with it.
Hear that? No, it's been a
So
great.
it came up today.
All right, so Terry Culture, that's great. So hopefully we'll have that on for next month, but that's not going to affect anything we're doing with them, right?
No, we'll just continue month to month until it's renewed.
Okay. And then the last thing we have on is the direct deposit ordinance.
Yes,
Do we want to do this by title tonight? I would like to do it by title.
I would love to do that.
But Mr. Wright doesn't feel like prepared.
It's not about Mr. Wright being prepared, but there's basically components that have to take place for this, why it's on for discussion. And it seems like it's the right thing to do for the cost, but I want everyone else's input. In order to comply with the governor's ordinance that he put out there, when we require the employees to go direct deposit, in previous places that had the direct deposit, because we do checks, they had vouchers. So it's still printed out a voucher, you folded it, you gave the employees, so it gave them the same information, it just wasn't on a check stock, it just said direct deposit voucher. To comply with the governor's ordinance, or the governor's rule, which is in our ordinance that we passed, we must be paperless.
Yes.
So we have to have a system in place in order to provide the stubs and the W-2s and things of that nature
How much
to the
does that
employees.
system cost?
The low discounted price of $5,000.
Okay.
Now, that's for the initial buy, and then it's, I believe, $2,500 a year, or something along
Is
those
it that high
lines.
a year, really?
That's worth.
I agree.
So,
I mean, the savings of checks.
The return on the
Yeah,
investment, it would take, 5 or 6 years, you're not gonna get it overnight,
The way it
but
should be.
Does anybody get paid like that? I mean, I worked for a company that got paid like that. They changed from, I worked for like a greeting card company, the second.
No,
card company. They switched everything.
you're all direct deposit? I'm all direct deposit, I'm electronic.
With the electronic, did they have to print their stub off?
So you know electronic.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, the electronic, just so everybody know, Mr. Dale, Chief Daly is all for this because he wants to get rid of his paycheck.
I think it's a great idea.
Now, the ordinance that the clerk did do a little research for us, just to go in, she did some research. There's ordinances out there, many other municipalities have started to do this. The big thing was the exception clause. When do we, there's going to be people who don't want to get signed up with this. And the question here is that my personal opinion is we make everybody do it, and then there's only the exceptional reason why we allow something.
Seasonal and temporary.
right.
The seasonal and temporary.
The exception is a
So if
class.
someone got one check a year, we wouldn't make them sign up for this or something.
If you had summer lifeguards for a pool.
Yes.
or something for 6 weeks.
Our summer rec program would be one of
Summer
them,
rec, they would be.
things like that.
If-
But,
if we-
Is that correct?
If we continue.
yes,
with that.
seasonal and temporary. So we would adopt an ordinance, we would purchase this program for $5,000, which I think is worth it. I wanted to do this last July. And some towns have adopted it. We said Collingswood has it already, and Cherry Hill have done it. Mr. Wright brought this to our attention last month because sometimes pays fall on difficult days because of holidays, and a lot of the employees, they expect their checks to be done at a certain time. Sometimes that's a little difficult. With the direct deposit, that pretty much would eliminate that. That the actual printed check has to be signed by 2 signatures, that this would eliminate all that. So,
For the most part, our payroll process is now down to basically 4 hours. I mean, that doesn't count what's on the other side of the fence. But, so we basically get that done between 2 and 6, 3, and, whatever the hours that are put in. But then the checks get cut, the checks get signed, the direct deposits get generated, the check gets sorted, they go out to the department, so there's other steps that would take you extra days. So you can always get the checks done in one day, or get the payroll done in one day. It's just it will help from the timing point of view there, so.
I think that council should very much consider at least authorizing the $5,000 for Edmonds and moving towards this. And then we can either do the first reading by title only for the direct deposit ordinance. Correct? We could do that?
We should,
Well, you can do
What
it,
do you
I
like
don't know
to-
whether Rich is ready for it.
might I recommend that we give everybody a copy over the next few days, and we can take a look at it, and we can do first reading at the caucus.
Okay.
Perfect.
I appreciate
I'll
it.
get you all that.
Well, we have to choose which form we want it in also.
Correct.
There is a little bit of language that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, that's to be decided.
Because, for example, in one municipality, the employee has to appeal to the council. In another municipality, the employee appears to the administrator. So do you really want somebody coming to council? I didn't think that was localized. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm going to council, just do that.
I think we've already, we discussed that earlier today, how that works, so.
Okay, so why don't we at least,
I think we should buy iPads, we all have not.
well, then have you back.
We can work on that.
Okay, so do you want a formal motion to the 5,000 or you're fine?
Just wanted for discussion, just make sure.
Okay, so we basically give them the go-ahead to buy the program. Is everybody okay with that? I didn't mean to say it like that. All right, have a motion. Do we have a motion on the table to approve spending the $5,000?
I will make a motion.
No.
He doesn't want it. That's not needed, but I mean, if you would like to do it, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear on where we were going, so that we were talking earlier about.
Are you okay with spending the 5,000?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Rich, you know.
Well, he doesn't want the ordinance because the problem with the ordinance is it triggers a time. As soon as we adopt the ordinance, he must,
But he has other things on his plate
I
right now.
understand.
He has a budget.
He wants to get his
He's
budget
on
done.
time.
we should have done this in July
On time, you're welcome.
at the caucus. We'll wait till the caucus. Okay.
3 weeks.
Why don't we do payment of bills, good and welfare, and then we'll go. Oh, well, it's on my agenda here. Okay, let's do good and welfare, and then we're going to go into closed session. Is that okay? Okay, this portion of the meeting is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Hello, Rebecca Nathis, 629 Detmore Terrace. I have some information that I'd like to pass to Mayor and Council. Can I approach? I don't know if there's enough for all of you guys, but I'll start with you. So if you could share amongst yourself, that's a picture of my husband's car. It was vandalized in our driveway on December 29th into December 30th. It was parked in the first position closest to our garage door. It was hit by an unknown object, and it sustained over $1,000 worth of damage between the back windshield and body damage. We have a vandalism problem in this borough. I was the only one that called 911 to report this incident. That was correlated with Wooten when I saw him and Patty out picking up the vandalism.
Patrolman Wood.
Yes, Patrolman Wooten. I didn't want to give him information. I didn't know if he was a patrolman or something. But one of my neighbors, who I don't know, that lives closer to former Chief Diano, they had stopped when Safelite was in our driveway and said that a young girl named Kate on Center Avenue, her back window was also vandalized that same night. So I don't know if anything happened on the east side, but I know of 2 instances. Unfortunately, she didn't call the police. So I rode up Center Avenue looking for damage to vehicles, my daughter Kate and I, and we didn't see anything. Of course, I got this information on the 31st, so her car could have been in the shop, she could have been at work, you know, that type of thing. So a couple of suggestions. I was told that crime statistics were put on Facebook, on the Runnemede Police Department page. I went back all the way through the creation, from the creation all the way up until the 31st of December, and there are not any statistics on there about crimes in our community. So that is incorrect.
Well, we do it on the borough. This report,
every month.
yeah, I don't know where the
And it's
Facebook
on
came.
Facebook.
No, we're not Facebook.
We don't do Facebook, we do.
Isn't the borough council, it could be somebody else independent.
Running police do have a Facebook.
Oh, do they?
The-
Yes,
There we
yes, they
go.
do.
The lady that gave me, I
We
believe her
do
name
have a
is,
Facebook,
Yes.
but we do
Chris.
not put crime reports on it.
Police clerk?
yes, who gave me the vandalism report, said all of the statistics were on Facebook. All I needed to do was go on the Runnemede Police Department Facebook page.
Okay, we'll have the chief
So
respond.
that's misinformation. So, that's my first point. My second point is neighborhood watch. I know there's been some talk about neighborhood watch. I know that the former veteran that was here maybe a year ago that wanted to do some cleanup, and he was a former Navy guy and all that, he's since moved out of town. He wanted to pilot a neighborhood watch. So I don't know if that's a public safety, like if there's a committee that can be formed, or, I know there's national.
I think afterwards you can speak
watches.
with the chief about these kinds of things. I think hopefully we'll get him to come up and answer.
Okay, and then the other, we talked about Facebook, the other thing is the over redactions. I know that Dan Connor sits with chief every month, but there's redactions in this Oprah paperwork. And,
Oprah.
is it, yeah, I'm sorry, thanks for correcting me. So, if somebody is, from my understanding of this law, this federal sunshine law, state law, if someone's over the age of 18, they've been charged with a crime, and I know that they're innocent until proven guilty, but why aren't we releasing their names and their ages and even their block and street? Like, why aren't we doing that as a municipality?
Do you want to, well, how about,
He doesn't do the actions, we do.
well, I'll have the solicitor first. Is that good, or you? Did you?
You're my guy,
All right.
Mr. Wood.
There are certain things that cannot be disclosed.
Okay.
Okay, and every time there's a redaction, every 2 weeks, you get the request 2 weeks, every 2 weeks? How frequent, every 2 weeks, right? So every 2 weeks, we get a full set of the reports. I'm sorry, I apologize, I forgot about this point. Every 2 weeks, we get a full set of the reports from the police department. And one of my associates goes through it, every word and every line, and deletes only those things which must be deleted by law, which primarily are names of minors. That's primarily what comes out, not exclusively what comes out. But for each deletion, okay, there's a description. Why was this deleted? In other words, let's just say it was 10 pages, and in all those 10 pages, in every page there was a deletion, one bit. And every one of those deletions was because it was a minor.
Okay.
We can't say all the deletions are because they're a minor. We have to say the deletion on page 1 was because it's a minor, deletion on page 2. So we have to be very descriptive about why those deletions are. So only those things that legally can't be disclosed are not disclosed. Everything that can be is on there. So just because it's a person's name, if they're an adult, that's not being deleted.
Okay,
Okay?
gotcha. Thanks.
The rest of
Could
them.
we, as a town, not have a police blotter in the local paper?
Well, it's in the Gloucester City News. It's in the
Well,
Gloucester City.
you're not, it's not your blotter.
But is that distributed in our town? It's
Gloucester City
Gloucester
News.
City News,
Yeah,
yes.
So I don't even know how to get that paper.
You could
Well,
subscribe.
you can subscribe to it,
Subscribe to it.
and it's also at the library.
They have it at the library for free, but I get your point, like.
It's not accessible.
Exactly.
It's not easily accessible. My argument is,
I agree.
it's a Gloucester City paper, I know Runnemede doesn't have a paper, but that information is not easily accessible to me as a working mother, as a volunteer, as a full-time employee. I'm not going to the library. I mean, I don't frequent the library. I support the library, but I don't frequent the library. And I certainly wouldn't want to subscribe to Gloucester City News when I have the Carrier Post and the Inquirer delivered to my step.
Chief, you want to come up and at least address the first two concerns?
Okay, first two concerns.
You know, Chief.
Yes.
First two concerns, statistics on Facebook.
First
That
of
was my
all,
first one.
it was, whoever told you that to do stats on Facebook is wrong. Our stats are read every month here. The Runnemede Police Facebook is something that the Runnemede Police Department does. Okay, we put events and pictures and, you know, anything that we put out there for dare.
Do you put
stuff.
crime on it?
We do not.
I saw,
Sometimes we do, if we have a picture of a suspect that we need to be identified, we do that.
But
Sometimes
if
we
there's an incident like
do.
that in town, should people not be made aware that there were vandalism incidents in this area? Please, like, leave your lights on, do whatever you need.
When we have a rash of problems, we do address them.
Okay.
When cars are broken into, houses are broken into, we do address them. I'm not saying that you're car was, part of
Well,
a
that's
big
a rash to
thing.
me because it
A
cost me
rash
$500.
means,
That's my
a lot.
deductible. I mean, it's costing me money now. I've chosen to keep my mouth shut up until this point. I've lived here almost 15 years in July. And I've kept my mouth shut up until this point. I've watched this community change. Opiate addiction and heroin addiction is the blight of suburban communities. We all know this. I'm not giving you guys a newsflash. I think that there was no visible valuables in this car. I think the intent was to steal it. The back window is not alarmed. It's a very, very common thing when it's kind of a professional, and I know people come from urban areas to suburban areas to target high-end vehicles. It's a BMW. It wasn't your run-of-the-mill, just, other kind of car. It is a luxury car. I understand that.
Chief Daly, has there been any other incidents similar to this?
We do have them from time to time.
A recent?
We get reports all the time. Like, we just had today, we ended up solving a case where someone reported that they were carjacked. And guess what? It was a false report. And 3 people were arrested on that.
But
Okay, 3 people were arrested on a false carjacking. So when we do investigate that, and then your car, and I know what kind of car, if that car was being targeted to be stolen, it would have been stolen. People who come out to steal cars, they don't break the back windows, because they don't get any out.
Well-
They pop the door, they take it. That was most likely probably some vandal kids, it could be kids, it could be anybody, with nothing else to do, who threw something through your window, a brick or a rock or something, just to be destructive, and that happens a lot.
And we have had a few stolen cars. I mean, there are crime statistics. If you go on the state of New Jersey, all departments have to, there is a website on the state of New Jersey that you can do this, and you can see every single municipality. And I think in Runnemede, we've looked at this over the past few years because we've talked about sharing our detectives with our neighbors so that we can work with our neighbors about crime, like you're saying, that goes from community to community. And if I recall, we typically have 1 or 2 cars a year stolen.
Yes,
But I don't know if they're stolen in people's,
our
not their homes,
are
though.
not that high.
Yeah, they're not high in there.
I feel
Barrington was hit in the same period of time. There were cars hit in Barrington for theft, GPSs, things like that. And also, when I was buying a solar light at Home Depot for the other side of our yard, there was a gentleman I met in Haddonfield who seemed like a reliable person. He said there were 10 home robberies and 15 vehicles that were vandalized in the same period of time.
And it happens, my feeling is this, if there's a way, whether it's on the Runnemede Police Facebook page or not, we all know that the rumor mill will run rampant with information that isn't accurate. Isn't that part of our responsibility as the borough to report the information that is accurate? If it's reported by a resident, we need to put it on Facebook so that people know. It doesn't have to be specific to your address on Detmar Terrace. It can just say, there were vandalisms happening in the area of the west side of town or the east side of town. Please be conscious, please be vigilant if you see something. That to me is something that should be.
When there is a rash of, or there's a cluster of certain crimes, we do put that out there. As I said before, we do that. Unfortunately, your car did get hit. I do not know how many vehicles, I do not have that report in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just 1 or maybe 2. With a population of 8,500, 1 or 2 vehicles, it's not a lot. So if we had 30 vehicles within 3 streets, that's a cluster. That's something that we would keep an eye out on. That's for something we would go to. Unfortunately, and I'm not downplaying what happened to you, 1 vehicle, that's not a cluster.
We've had that with the copper being stolen. We all remember that. And that was a rash where I think it was, what,
Matter of
many.
fact, we had 290. And I will take responsibility. I did not put it out there because we were following a suspect. And that was my decision, that I decided not to put that out there. And it's a good thing we didn't, because we ended up arresting the gentleman. He went for $96,000 worth of thefts.
Oh, that's the copper?
Yes.
Is
That was the copper.
Okay, I wasn't following. Okay, now what about a neighborhood watch? What do you think about that?
if you can get the volunteers, I can.
I think community involvement, but I think if there's enough people, I mean, people have said to me, we really need a neighborhood watch, and I said, are you willing to volunteer? Like the people that stopped, that told me about this young girl in Center Avenue that had her window broken the same night.
Would you think
So-
the residents need to watch out for each other? That's important. Volunteerism is almost zero. You can't get people, they're just not there.
But Ms. Nagus,
Your neighbor.
I'm gonna suggest that Ms. Nagus, why don't you talk to the chief? He has office hours. I know you're busy with work, but if, talk about it, and if there's a group of people, I'm sure council would support anything that has to
Because I
be
know that's
done.
on a national level, right? We can have
That's,
Uh,
yes, you can more
neighborhood
welcome
watch
to come
is
in and
kind of
talk to me,
sort of.
and we
a
want to
national-
sit down, I'm all ears.
And yet, we have to encourage people that if they do see a crime, or they think it's a crime, to call 911.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't call
A lot of
911.
people don't call 911.
That's immediately.
That's it. People,
When my husband went out.
They don't
to
wanna
pick
get
his son
involved.
in that
Yeah.
car,
You don't want to get
It's
involved.
not
I immediately called 911 because we obviously needed a vandalism report in order to turn it into the insurance company.
right, and
Because
people need to
immediately I was like,
understand,
this is going to be more than $500.
911 is
So-
not just for an emergency. It's not just for when someone's been shot, someone's dying. At 911, when they answer the phone and say, what is your emergency? You are very able to say, it is not an emergency, and tell them what the situation is. People need to understand that because people don't understand that.
And that's
Absolutely.
exact, I think that unique in the sense that I
Yes.
come from a law enforcement family
Absolutely.
and that I'm also a registered nurse and I provide community health.
Correct.
I think I'm unique in the sense that I'm comfortable calling 911.
Exactly. A lot of people aren't
I
because they feel
can
like,
kind of triage that down
Yeah.
in my mind, exactly what I need to do to
absolutely.
get the help that I need in the services.
Well, I'll be
that I need.
watching. So I
Okay,
know
you're
that
gonna be
happens.
watching? Good, thank you for your
And,
comment.
We'll get Chief Daly's information.
And just to tell you, in 2009, I started a program called the Quality of Life Program. And you can come in and sit down, and you see we have 1,487 arrests in a town of 8,500 people. Okay, so we have zero tolerance. So our Quality of Life Program is a success, and our violent crime rate is going down.
Thank you.
Now, switching gears, I'd like to do something positive, or ask you about something positive. What about a recycling incentive? I know that you guys want more recyclables, less trash. Have you looked into that?
Recycle bank, is it called
It's
recycle
what?
bank? Yeah.
Where you
That's
get
the
gift
big one.
certificates and all that kind of
Right.
stuff?
Mr. Wright is aware of that, he lives in a town where they have that as a, I have been on council for 2 years, and prior to that was not on council, but was involved, and that was one of the first things, when he had just started here, that was one of the first things, I'm like, why do we not have that? Because I had found out about that program, which is active in Cherry Hill, and I thought it was awesome. It requires a very large commitment, because there's a truck that needs to be involved. If I'm off, please tell me. There are cans that have to be distributed to every resident.
Yeah, we need to
It's,
see
yes,
this.
right. It
Like
becomes,
Gloucester Town.
well, not even just that. These are specific, yeah. And then the truck is a specific thing.
They even have alternate methods, because when I first came on board, and actually I was taking a class, and this was something I was trying to roll out
Because I know
as
you
a
wanted to do
project.
it, yeah.
We hit a few roadblocks, but you were able to get around.
I would love it.
We do not have a community that's conducive 100% for the bandits that are picking up the
Right.
cans. But they have other mechanisms, where as a community, you track your tonnage, and then it's shared globally. Like, so because you wouldn't have the little tag
So I
on the
would love
recycling
to have a
can.
drop-off
So
center. I would love to have a
there's
drop-off center.
different ways
That,
that
and
can.
people
What's this claim you gotta
think
share?
that that's not something that's productive, and it can become extremely productive, because people don't feel like hauling these 10 tons of, papers out from their basement to the curb, but if they can load up their car and they can take it in one shot and be done with it, and I know the drop-off centers are successful.
Is there any state or federal funding for this type of spend program?
We have Clean Communities funding, it's indirectly related. We also have recycled tonnage grants, so there's a couple of avenues that are available. And that's part of, with our code enforcement and our community awareness, things of that nature, that can all dovetail together. So we'll be looking.
I think our weekly recycling will help.
Yes.
I think our enforcement is helping, and the fact is that people in Runnemede are recycling more. Our tonnage was down.
Tonnage has gone up.
I think we saved over $20,000 last year.
Yeah, me too.
There's a lot of people out there that do a great job.
We have 4 or 5 cans
Yeah.
Yeah.
every,
Now, hopefully you'll have 2 cans every week at least.
I think that's great.
there's 2 out there today.
Great.
Thank you very much.
You need another
Thank you,
hand.
Rebecca.
Thank you for hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Going out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one else, could I have a motion to close the public portion?
I second.
Okay, motion seconded. All in favor to close the public portion?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public portion is closed. We're gonna go into closed session. We are not gonna come back and do any action. We're simply gonna go into closed session for 20 minutes to talk about personnel issues and litigation. 25 minutes.
Oh, Happy New Year. I meant
So we have resolution 1523, resolution going to closed session. Do I have a motion?
And I second.
All in favor?